We need the roll call first.
Councilman Popescu. Councilman Leonard.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tempore Duper.
Present.
Mayor Rigsby.
Here.
Councilman Daly is absent. There is a quorum.
Thank you. Are there any items to be added or deleted?
No, sir.
Oh. It's a regular meeting, but we don't have our usual start. Is it on my... For some reason, I don't see it on my agenda. Okay, then let's go ahead and start with the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Let's stand. Bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for your guidance to our city, where your people reside. We ask that you help us to reflect the will of the people and to do the best for them that we can as public servants. In your name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. I will, at this time, open the Loma Linda Housing Authority meeting to run concurrently with the City Council, and we will deal with item number 1, Council Bill R-2016-39 and Housing Authority Bill R-2016-05. Who is the discussant? Come forward.
An affordable housing project that the county has processed upon application of a developer. The Housing Authority's involvement was the sale of property, and the communications recently got going in the last few weeks. I've been asked to address two things. One is if the action of the Council and the Housing Authority is to approve the intercreditor and subordination, the city and housing authority would get the benefit of covenants that are countable for RENA purposes, and also if they're for purposes of if there was any production deficit that existed at the time of the dissolution of the agency in 2012. So if that wasn't clear, hopefully that clarifies it. The only other item I was asked to address, to not go over the same ground as last time, is changes on what the ask is. Subsequent to last week, there was some communication first about covenants or a potential agreement with the state of between the state of California and the developer, and if subordination would be requested, and there was some different information at different times. The developer indicated, they were pursuing a solution where subordination wouldn't be required to the state. Then it appeared they didn't have the solution. Then this morning I was told that the state wouldn't require subordination. I contacted 2 attorneys at the State Housing Community Development Department seeking confirmation of that. And it appears to me very likely that the state will not require subordination. But because of the particular nature of how they phrased that, there is a possibility. However, I may think it's a slim possibility, but there's a possibility that they will request subordination. So what the current forms of resolution provide is authorization, if it's approved by the council and the board, for the city manager as manager and executive director to execute subordinations to the state if it is necessary. My current belief, based on my discussions with the attorneys at HCD today, is that it would not be necessary. Unfortunately, when the developer sent documents to the state, he omitted one document, and because he omitted the one document, they haven't reviewed it and they can't speak to it. Any issues raised by that document, in my assessment, would be common to those they've already reviewed. And on the ones they've already reviewed, they have said, in connection with the Housing Authority covenants and the city covenants, that HCD will not require that they be subordinated to the state on the theory that although they may be encumbrances, they're not liens. I think the agreement will be treated the same way, but unfortunately it wasn't presented and they didn't have time to review it. So that's kind of the date down from my prior presentation. There are representatives of the county present, and they may wish to speak to you about the project. And if you have any questions, I'm available to answer questions.
Can you speak to whether not having the agreement between ourselves and the county somehow jeopardizing other county projects?
I think the county could address that more authoritatively in terms of the impact on the county.
Okay.
Hey, just real quick, if you would give your what is your recommendation as far as this?
My recommendation is to approve the resolutions in the form, the revised form as they are presented, as I've described them.
Thank you.
Well, I think that kind of clarified some of the questions that I had. It sounds like, from what you just told us, you don't need approval in order for the project to move forward. Having said that, you know, my objection to it had a lot more to do with the process, not necessarily the project itself. We as a city wanted to have affordable housing, but wanted to have a say in what type of it is and where it's located. And we wanted to make it clear through a no vote that that was our intention. I do have a number of questions that I have basically of staff, because they're the ones that are responsible to us, not the folks in the county. And so I've photocopied them and I've given them to, I've given one to Jarb, and I can give one to Dusty and Phil. And without going into all of them, but there's about 16 questions, and you guys are free to look at them and see if you add any more to it. But our goal is, we want to make sure that as any other projects move forward, we don't get put into a position where we're having multiple meetings, and we as a city want to have the ability to make decisions about who the developer is, the process, and ask all those questions that I know the county folks did, but technically we should have jurisdiction over what gets developed in their own city. So the goal is to try to educate ourselves as to what exactly happened, so we have a better understanding of what took place here, and then look at it and see if we can figure out a way to make sure that we don't put ourselves in this situation again. And that's really the goal of it. It's not to necessarily place blame, although I think if we look into it, it'll be hopefully clear that some parties probably did or didn't do their due diligence in moving forward on this. I did speak briefly with folks from the county, and I had a lot of questions about them, about the project itself, and I was satisfied with their answers regarding the process by which the veterans are vented and housed, and I was satisfied with those answers. So having said that, I would be in favor of approving this, although if anybody has any questions, this is the time to do it.
So are you expecting answers to these questions tonight?
No, that's going to take, because I think some of it is going to require records requests, because it's not just going to be a report with dates and times. I want to see emails and communication that was going back and forth and how far back. So.
Yes, I will be happy to work with the county staff and our legal counsel and respond to your question. No problems.
And the question at the very bottom regarding the veterans, I asked those of the staff, and I was able to get those. I mean, you're more than welcome to ask any of those in a public forum. That's not a problem.
My question of the city attorney is, to what degree does this set of questions need to be read into the record versus placed into the record?
Well, it's not required that you read it into the record. It's not the basis of your decision tonight.
Yeah, this is hopefully a consensus of the council in agreeing, because I can't personally ask the staff of all this. So I'm hoping that the rest of you would agree with me that it would be in our best interest to get a report back.
I have not had a chance to review it. If there's
Do
any
you have a copy?
attorney-client privileges involved, we obviously want to protect those.
This is mostly, you know, it's for a public record as to what transpired, and, you know, some of it you may have access to, some of it you may not, but I want better understanding of what exactly took place.
Okay, are there any further questions of either staff or county officials or
I was under the
council?
impression we were going to get a presentation by the county.
Is there something you'd like to present that's not a rehash of what we did last week?
I would like to talk on the record. Apparently, there was some communication between the mayor and the county last week, the county CEO, Devereaux. And I'd like that to be discussed before we move forward with this.
Okay, the last time I spoke to the county CEO was a polite conversation about a year ago.
Okay. Oh, okay, because I was informed that he talked to the mayor.
Nope.
So apparently that wasn't correct. So I still think we have some confusion up here on the dais as to exactly what transpired last week. And there was some discussion about the county saying that if this project was not approved, that all other projects in the county for this year would not be approved as well. And it would put the county in a financial hardship and some other things like that. So does somebody want to talk about that?
It's not every project that was approved, but what happened is, from what I understand, is it made them look bad that they want to spend the money and they don't get to spend.
I know, I was like,
Yes, yes.
and, you know, first, if you would indulge me a second, on behalf of the county, I truly want to apologize to the council and the city staff relative to that if the first time that the council understood the transition of this project was last week or the week before when the item got published, that's not how the county does business. And there obviously was a serious miscommunication that occurred over this last year to get to the point where what happened last week and where we are. And on behalf of the CEO and the board, I cannot more sincerely apologize for that. And regarding your specific question, as it relates to the county, this particular county project, this project is over $38 million from another number of financial resources that it takes to develop and operate this project. The county specifically has a couple different resources in through the County Housing Authority and through the County Community Development and Housing Department. And apologies, my name is Dina Fuentes. I'm the Director of the Community Development and Housing Department for San Bernardino County. Relative to the home funds, there's $2.1 million of county home monies that have been targeted for this project, in which home loan agreements had been executed. And of that part of those funds, $1 million, almost $1 million, 900, have to be spent by this Friday, or it gets recaptured by Treasury. And the other portions of those funds have another limitation on timeframes of when we would have to reinvest them somewhere else. In addition to that, and Maria Rosso, who's the Executive Director of the Housing Authority, is here, is as part of the financial structure, the Housing Authority had also applied for VASH vouchers from the Veterans Administration to help finance the rents for these apartment complexes. And it was a competitive process through a VA NOFA notice, or I guess it's a notice of funds available, and the project successfully secured 50 VASH vouchers. If this project, from the standpoint, did not move forward, there's no guarantee that those 50 VASH vouchers that would house the veterans would be able to be reprogrammed to another project within the county. That would have to be at the discretion through HUD and the VA. So those are kind of the two pots of funds that the county has an exposure on. But again, I honestly cannot apologize more, because you should have and have participated in relationship to this project. And there was some serious miscommunication that I assure you will not happen as we, whether it's this project or another project, and whether it's your city or another city. So my sincere apologies.
And I appreciate that. And I did speak to a couple of supervisors over this issue as well, and I got the same assurance, and that's good, and I appreciate that. It does the next city down the road the benefit. Unfortunately, we're at where we're at here.
I know.
So, and again, you know, understand it's nothing specific about this project. It's the concept and the idea, and this
And
has
it's
been
your community.
discussed, and it was definitely an understanding. And just for the record, I want to say that I support our staff here has known what our position is on this issue and has been on this issue. And I'm not sure where the breakdown occurred. I want to believe it was not at our staff level. So the next question is, given the nature of the type of housing, and obviously it's kind of unique because we do have the VA facility here, is the county ready to provide any extra additional resources to us to help manage and deal with some of the potential issues that could arise from housing?
And actually, the way this project is structured is it comes with a variety. It's not just building affordable housing targeted to veterans. It is a whole permanent supportive housing concept. And so what comes with that is the VA, with the VASH vouchers, the VA actually provides support to all of the veterans, whether they have VASH vouchers or other vouchers. And so there's all the connectivity of services that they provide. On top of that, there's an on-site service provider, Life Steps. And so they combine in total to try to assist in getting the veterans relative to getting used to being in the housing, dealing with their medical issues, helping them on employment and skill set developments, rehabilitation if that's what occurs. And there's a whole package in making the veterans successful in living in that housing and being part of the community so that they can move forward in their lives. And if we're super successful in that, ideally part of it comes with the job creation portion of it, or job skills development, so that they could ultimately be in a position that they didn't have to live in an affordable housing community. And these are designed for family units so that they could then choose, if they get to that point, to be able to live in a market rate development if that's what they chose to do. But it's an overall package. It is not just housing. It comes with permanent supportive housing and partners with the VA.
Are there any rules that govern behavior and things like that? I mean, as far as on-site management, is there any remedy for us as a city if we're noticing a certain pattern as far as our public safety response to that particular unit or a particular resident or things like that? Because I understand that the services are available and they're mostly available during the day, but at night and on the weekends, I'm not sure if a lot of the residents have like a physical disability, or if they're facing mental health issues or things like that. Mm-hmm. Because those things could tax our resources, which again we share with the greater community, a community that lives around there.
And it's kind of a combination. One, with the vouchers that are in place, folks do get vetted through the process of who lives there. And you are looking for good conduct rules. And then the project manager, which is John Stewart Company, they actually have specialization, just like Life Steps, who is the resident service providers, in working with this client. They're used to working with specialized client bases in addition to general population of folks who don't have a special requirement. If issues start arising, then that would be something that would be connected to the property management, because that's part of their issue. And if they're not getting resolved at that level, then it ties into both the county and the housing authority. And that we would then be working with that property manager and the developer to get it rectified.
And just, for the record, this was approved by the council as a market rate, set of units with very nice set of amenities. And I believe, and I'll get consensus from my fellow council members that we intend to stand by those amenities and those designs, and that if there is one plant or blade of grass that is not in place per our original specifications, that is something that will be beyond what we're going to allow.
And the developer is required to build to your approvals, regardless if the population is a market rate population or a
Right.
veterans population. They are to build to your entitlement approvals.
Okay. So I hope they're capable of fulfilling that.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm just going to make a general comment. That's fine.
Okay.
I don't have any questions. Obviously, we're sensitive to wanting to provide assistance to everybody in our community. At the same time, we have to be, cautious about how we go about it. Having said that, I think part of the reason that I'm willing to change my mind on this is because I think it's important for us to continue to build good relationships with the county. And I'm hoping that the county does pay attention to the fact that we are willing to work with them, especially Mr. Devereaux specifically. I, as a co-chair of the IVDA, have had some serious issues with the county, so I'm hoping that maybe this sends a strong message to him personally that at some point we might want his involvement in addressing some of our issues that we're dealing right now on the IVDA side. So hopefully this is a way for us to, throw out a branch, an olive branch of sorts that will help us better work together on other county-related issues. I know this different departments, you folks know very little about that, but I just want to take this opportunity to make that point. Thank you.
Are there any further questions or presentations? Okay, then what is the pleasure of the council and the Housing Authority? We need,
I'll go ahead and move Council Bill R-2016-39, the City Council authorizing the execution of an intersetter and subordination agreement. Along with it will be the Loma Linda Housing Authority Bill R-201605, the Housing Authority authorizing the execution of the creditor and subordination agreement. Will that be enough to satisfy the agreement, the motion? Thank you.
Yes, these are related items as to the same agreements, so yes.
and it also refers to the delegation of authority to the city manager to execute a subordination agreement with the state of California, should it become
necessary?
Necessary.
Yes, thank you for that clarification.
I can't
So
believe I
you
got
want
that
my-
out.
Motion to include those statements?
Yes.
Those are included in the agreements.
Okay,
Okay.
I believe so. Thank you.
Yeah. And there was a second? Okay. Any further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no. That passes unanimously. Thank you for that item. Next is reports of councilmen, reports of officers. Okay,
Don't
then the-
forget, next week is the league meeting, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And on Friday is the ribbon cutting at the VA clinic.
Yeah, so I will be cutting my league attendance short on Friday to come for the ribbon cutting.
And don't we have the State of the City luncheon on Wednesday?
That's tomorrow, I'm sorry, tomorrow at 11:30.
Yeah, that's tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow, yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And feel free to come. I'm only speaking for 5 minutes, so you don't have to feel like you are going to be bored.
When will your speech be over so I know what time to be there?
5 minutes after I start. Okay. Any other reports of officers? Okay. Then on the Housing Authority, are there any items to be added or deleted?
No, sir.
Any comment from the public on either agenda? Actually, I forgot to do that for the City Council. So any oral reports, public participation on City Council or the Housing Authority? No takers. Okay, we dispensed with all of the items and there are no minutes yet. Are there any member reports on the Housing Authority? Any reports of officers? Hearing none, it's adjourned. Thank you all for coming. See you next meeting, regularly scheduled.